back to our special coverage live from the Clinton Global Initiative here in New York City. CGI aims to be a catalyst for action, and to that end, Cisco Systems and Duke Energy have joined forces today to take on energy efficiency. The two companies have linked up with Charlotte, North Carolina's Center City partners to link commercial office buildings to the smart grid and cut energy costs. Cisco will pay 20% of the estimated $5.25 million project, while Charlotte-based Duke Energy will recover its 80% share under the state's energy savings tariff. Joining me now to talk about that, the executives from both companies, John Chambers, Chairman and CEO with Cisco Systems, and Jim Rogers, Chairman and CEO with Duke Energy. Gentlemen, it's great to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure to be with you again,
Always
Marie.
a pleasure to see you both.
Here.
Thank you so much. So let's talk about your announcement this morning here at CGI to collaborate in terms of a first of its kind public-private collaboration to make commercial buildings in Charlotte more energy efficient. How will it work, Jim?
Well, we have 60 buildings in downtown Charlotte, 15 million square feet. We have 12,000 square feet already committed. And what we're really going to do is do smart grid technology coupled with automation technology. And basically, as part of that process, we're going to give a clear picture of the usage. We're going to give information in terms of how they can reduce their usage. And over time, we're going to increase the technology that we use so that they can be as efficient as possible. And I can even envision, John, a competition between the buildings to see who can reduce their usage the fastest.
It's amazing to me, John, how much technology is changing so many industries and really enabling growth in so many industries. From your standpoint, how does this work?
So what it makes it happen is it's a public-private partnership between the local government. The mayor, Fox, is very, very good. The local community, two of the leaders in both the utility industry and high tech. And what we can do is show that we can reduce the emissions dramatically within an area and at the same time grow jobs. Once you do that in one community like Charlotte, you do it in one more community in North America, one or two in China, one or two in Europe, and all of a sudden we are able to show the government leaders and the citizens in America who are fairly asking the question, can you really reduce emissions? Can you really cut my costs on the electricity? And can you do it growing jobs? Charlotte is an energy capital within the U.S., 13,000 employees there. It's a financial center with Bank of America, Wachovia, Wells Fargo. So if we do it in one area where you have the public-private partnerships, much what you hear about Clinton Global Initiative being about, then it will be models for everyone else. So envision Charlotte really will showcase in America what's capable in this new area.
That is terrific, really terrific. Jim, you know, so many people talk about clean energy as, you know, sort of one of the areas of the future, and I wonder how much teeth does it have? I mean, obviously, you've been singing this song for a long time. John has also been, you know, looking at alternatives and trying to use technology to enable so many different areas. But how much of this is real and how much of this is hype? Not necessarily your project, but overall the idea that energy efficiency is going to be an industry that creates jobs in the next 10 years.
Well, if you think about electricity, when we started down that road in the 20th century, we became a great enabler of a lot of other technologies that we couldn't even envision when we started down the road. Today, we're at a place where there's a convergence of new technologies, and John has really developed technologies that work perfectly in this area. But if you build off these technologies, we're going to enable next generation and second and third generation technologies. So our ability to provide electric service and to minimize customers' usage by putting control in their hands is better today than ever been. This will create jobs. The other reality is that virtually every power plant in our country has to be retired and replaced by 2050, except hydro. Replacing that will create jobs. So it's a combination of energy efficiency and the job creation there, coupled with modernizing our fleet with a fleet that has a low carbon footprint, and those are the combination of jobs that will really work.
Yeah, it's a great point. Go ahead,
so from a high-tech perspective, it could be as big as the original internet. Every electronic device, every automobile connected to it. If Jim can reduce the usage during peak hours because of this new approach in Charlotte, and then he can do it throughout his geography, it reduces his capital spending by 40%. You can pass that along to the consumer, you can create jobs, and there'll be many regulated areas. To your earlier question, we see this occurring in almost every major industry around the world. Jim and I just finished a session led by President Clinton, where we had some of the top CEOs and top government leaders in the world, about 15 of us. For the first time ever, Maria, it wasn't a conversation about their business and complaining about government and what we need to do better, and then an afterthought being technology. Technology was part of every CEO, every government leader's approach. President Clinton's known that for a long time. That's a nice way of saying whether you're in the utility industry, service provider industry, movie industry, automotive industry, government, they're now starting to think about technology different. And this is why I think technology this time will be dramatically different over the next decade.
Let me get your take. Let me switch gears here and get your take on what business is doing today. I know you were in this meeting with the president, talking to other CEOs. What are you hearing? What are you seeing from business customers today in terms of putting money to work in high tech, increasing their budgets for high tech? This is going to give us a great window in terms of where we are in the economy. How's business?
So without referring to my quarter, at least, and you can, Jim, on your quarter.
Of course.
But if you really look at what we see, you see Asia still going very well. You see Latin America going well in terms of the CEOs' attitudes, the government leaders' attitudes. What's exciting is most CEOs still see the U.S. challenged, see growth below 2% over the next 6 to 12 months, but they're going to spend on technology, and that's, to me, is very fascinating. And we don't run our company in this next quarter. We say, where do you want to be 2, 3, 5 years out? And I came away from session after session today. Everybody talked about technology, and I'm sure part of it was because I was in the room, but everybody talked about Cisco, which was good.
I think the important thing here is, and Envision Charlotte is really all about that, is improving the productivity and the use of electricity. One of the things that came out of our meetings is this concept of the improvement in productivity. If that happens in America, that's really going to drive our economy, and it's going to grow. But the reality is of our economy, when you look at the housing situation, how long it takes for that to happen.
And that's been still missing in action.
Missing in action. The deleveraging of families, budgets.
That's still happening.
That's still happening, and that could take another 6 years. If you look at our sales, we do not believe we'll be back to our 2007 pre-recession level into 2015.
2015. Wow. Okay.
What all of those numbers tell you is that our economy is probably going to grow roughly at 2%, plus or minus, for the next 4 to 5 years. And that is going to translate into significant unemployment in the 8 to 10% range.
And Mohamed El-Arian would call it, the new normal.
Because, well, that's what some people call the new normal. What was interesting today is when everybody talked about the power of technology and collaboration, I made a pretty bold prediction. I think productivity will grow at 3 to 5% over the next 5 years, and you'll begin to see it re-ramp up much like it did 97 through 2004. If that's true, then GDP growth will be at a different level, and that's why you see many of the leaders in business and government looking to what technology can do, and that's why perhaps in the short term it's a little bit challenging, bumpy I would call it. Longer term, I'm probably more the optimist.
One of the issues has been corporations are sitting on all of this cash, $1.8 trillion. They're sitting on it. Of course, they're hoarding cash. Individuals are hoarding cash. Got a savings rate now back up to 5%, a positive, but at the same time, it's not helping us over the near term. John, you recently announced that you were going to pay a dividend.
Yes, we are.
First time ever.
Yes.
Why does that matter now? Why do this now? You're actually putting cash to work.
Yes, we are. First of all, if you have a choice between investing in a Cisco stock or putting your cash on the sidelines for 1% interest, if you could get Cisco stock and get a 1% dividend or maybe even 2%, that's a lot better decision with the upside potential in many people's minds. Secondly, U.S. multinationals have $1.2 trillion overseas. Our opinion, if the U.S. government reincorporate that, you could have more financial incentives than what the stimulus package was, which was, what, $785 billion.
Absolutely.
Why we don't do that, I think it's going to be a missed opportunity. I think you're going to see after the November elections, leaders on both sides probably take a step back and say, let's put this money to work. Let's bring this money back to America in an effective way. If so, that could be a pretty good stimulus for the country and perhaps something that would break us out of this just bumping between 0 and 2% type growth. So it's an area, Maria, I'm kind of the optimist on. I think President Clinton also said it made tremendous sense.
Maria, let me make one point. My projection is really kind of business as usual. And it's a conservative projection of what could happen. What John is talking about, these productivity gains and changing the law where we can bring money back from offshore and reinvest it in the U.S. rather than reinvesting it in other countries. These are things that are game changers.
Yes,
and I really believe, and there's optimists in me that believe that's going to happen.
I agree. I understand what you're saying, because John is looking long-term, and you're always a long-term thinker, John.
Yes.
But here's the issue. Unemployment is a problem.
Yes.
And we are looking at, trying to know when we actually come out from under the rock. And you're saying, unemployment is going to be an issue for some time to come because there's all this uncertainty. So given the uncertainty in 2011, whether it's higher health care expenses, higher taxes, uncertainty about the demand being there, are you going to be hiring?
We are hiring.
You are.
And we've hired 400 people this year. And we have several major construction projects where we have over 6,000 people at work. So,
John, are you hiring?
Yes, I think we're probably the only Fortune 50 company who is growing our U.S. headcount by 10% this year. If we bring back our money from overseas, I'll commit to the same number next year plus some.
And you need to see policies in order to support that.
Predictability is so important. Maria, government and business has failed to work together.
Yes.
And one of the nice things about Charlotte is the mayor got up and said that's what made America great, business and government working together. I think Charlotte's an example for the rest of our country. Business and government ought to say, how do we put America back to work? Let's quit getting distracted by the small transactions. Let's say, what does it take to win together?
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Great conversation. Thank you for all of your efforts. This is a terrific announcement, and we appreciate your breaking it on our program. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Very much. John Chambers, Jim Rogers. We will see you soon, gentlemen. Thanks very much.